Well, I've just made a decision. It's just after noon now. I'm in Olympia. I've been camped out in Capitol State Forest, which is just a few minutes outside of Olympia. And I made it back here to Olympia somehow. I didn't have service out at Capitol State Forest, so I kind of had to feel my way back to Olympia. I came back here to Trader Joe's. I just bought a couple of little things, and it's really gray and rainy out. Now that I have cell service, I know that there is rain and clouds in the forecast for the next week. And in fact, a week from today, there's snow in the forecast, which I believe it's probably going to snow. So I have just made a decision. I'm going to just take off. It's kind of later in the day, so it feels like a silly decision, but at least I can charge my batteries while I'm driving, and I'll just head south. Where exactly? I don't know. So I'm just going to head towards Oregon and see where I end up today. Well, gas here around Olympia has been $5 and over. Pretty expensive, I think. But as I went to get on the freeway here, I see there is gas for $4.23, so not a fantastic price, but certainly better than what I've been seeing. So I decided to fill up because since I don't know where I'm going, who knows what gas prices will be when I get there. That's kind of funny though, isn't it? Don't know where I'm going, but I'll find out stuff when I get there. Well, away we go. Okay, haven't made it very far. I am just south of Olympia in the little town of Vader. There's a nice little rest stop here I've stopped at several times before. So didn't make it very far outside of Olympia. This is only about half an hour, 40 minutes south of Olympia. And I think I forgot to mention before that Olympia is the capital of Washington, the state capital of Washington. No, I said that wrong, didn't I? Let's see. Let's fix it. So Olympia is the capital of the state of Seattle. There we go. Now everybody understands. It's just a common misconception that people think that Seattle is the capital of Washington state when in fact it's Olympia. So I'm just a little south, and I stopped only because I didn't make any road coffee, so need to make some coffee, and had a cup this morning, but I haven't had any driving, which is unusual. So I'm going to do that. And also, I think I need to make some lunch. That would be a good idea too. Or I will get grumpy driving here. So let's get some lunch and some coffee going. Well, this area around Vader and also Chehalis, Washington, which is right kind of the same area here, is really beautiful. Even though you're on the freeway, the 5 freeway, it's a nice, pretty drive, and there is a fantastic view of both Mount Rainier and Mount St. Helens. Well, what's left of Mount St. Helens, but really fantastic views of both of the mountains and lots of other just pretty scenery. So it's always a nice drive. I've driven this up and down a number of times, more times than I can count. Oddly though, today I couldn't see much of a view of anything. Couldn't see a view of Mount Rainier, couldn't see a view of Mount St. Helens. Don't know why. Okay, so I've got some leftover potatoes I need to use up, so I'm going to fry them up in some olive oil and some butter. I've got some butter in the pan, and oh, my olive oil is frozen. I guess I won't be using any olive oil. I got plenty of butter. I'll just use the butter. This is one of the reasons why I have decided this morning to leave the area. It's just been getting a little bit difficult here, dealing with colder weather. So not that it's bad, and not that it's really all that cold either, but it's certainly cold enough to freeze up my olive oil. And I could thaw this out, of course, but I need to get back on the road. I have made the decision to move on, so I will just make do here and get some lunch going and get back on the road because, like I said, that was the decision that I made. Okay, so technically this is leftovers because I need to use up those potatoes, but this is quite spectacular, even though this is just an egg burrito, because of this guajillo salsa I've been buying at Trader Joe's, and this is why I went to Trader Joe's this morning, straight out of the forest, and went to Trader Joe's to get another bottle of this because I just used up the last of this bottle of this guajillo salsa, and I have one more, and I just thought if I am going to leave the area, I should probably stock up a little bit. So I only bought one bottle, which may be a mistake. I'm probably going to wish I bought at least a couple, but this stuff is so good on a just a regular plain old egg and cheese burrito with some fried up potatoes. That's it, but wow, this is special stuff. If you haven't tried this salsa and you have a Trader Joe's around, I highly suggest you give it a try. Well, coffee's done, and I am just about ready to get back on the freeway, get back heading south. But I am thinking just one thing. Whenever I go to leave Washington, I always kind of wonder if I'm making a mistake. Washington's been a good place for me. Had a little rough go of it when I first got here a few months back, but things leveled out like they always do, and it has been really nice to be here. One reason that I have decided to stay is just mostly because I have friends here. I have a few really good friends here. Kind of two of them are around Seattle, and then one is out at the Olympics, and it's been really nice to be around friends. And I think one of the things that doesn't translate well on my vlogs, on my regular vlogs, is that I do meet people. I am always meeting people. I am always spending time with people. But it's different than spending time with good friends. And that's what I have here in Washington. Maybe I should say Seattle, because they are on this side of the state, not the other side of the state, but it's a big state here. Washington is a big state. But I made the decision to stay here because of friends, but also because it's a really nice place to be, and it's been a really good place for me to be. So whenever I go to leave, I always think, are you making a mistake? Maybe you should just stick around. And I think the other half of what I was thinking there about making a mistake about leaving Washington is that it's really always very nice here. I mean, if you stay near Seattle, the weather is always pretty good year-round. Now, it gets a little bit cold, and I don't work so well in the cold. I just kind of tense up, and my body aches a little bit. So if I do stay here, that means I have to run my heater, and that costs me money. So it's kind of a toss-up there. You know, there's that little juggling thing you think about. If I stay here, I am going to have to buy more propane to keep myself warm. One nice thing about running my heater, though, is that it does dry out the van. So while other people seem to have trouble with moisture and mildew and mold in their vans, I just don't seem to have that because I've got good ventilation to begin with. But I also just run my heater a lot because I want to stay warm, and in the process it just dries everything out back there. Well, I should say back there in my living space, because I keep this cab area separate. So it does get a little damp up here in the cab, but I haven't noticed any problems up here so far. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, as long as I stay around Seattle area, weather is always good, and so that's always another little thing that's on my mind and thinking, you know, do you really want to leave a place that you know is comfortable and that you can stay comfortable? Now, I can stay comfortable because I'm burning propane to keep myself warm and comfortable, and warm and dry and comfortable. But yeah, it's a hard thing to leave. But the fact is, it is a little bit more difficult for me to be here in the cold, just because I just don't work so well in the cold. And so even though I know people say, well, it's not really that cold because it's only really getting down to about freezing at night, and then it warms up a bit during the day. I think yesterday was about 50 degrees. Of course, it rained quite a bit too, but that's not really ideal temperatures for me. As I'm getting older, I'm having a little bit of trouble with extreme temperatures, and in my opinion, once it gets down near freezing, that's extreme temperatures for me. At least that's, you know, where I start to have trouble. So that makes it a little bit harder for me to stay here, and it just makes things a little tough. And so I guess that's why I decided here today just to take off. And there's no wrong decisions. You know, you make a decision, you go with it. And the nice thing about my position here, in that I live out of a vehicle, is that if I want to come right back here, I certainly can. But right now, I need to get headed south, because that's the plan. So back on the freeway we go. Well, I didn't make it too far south, but I am south of Seattle. I am just over the border of Washington into Oregon, and this is the cool little town of Astoria. Been here several times. I like Astoria. It has a very, very cool vibe here, and it is close to where I always want to be. Not quite on the Pacific Ocean, but very close. It sits on a little inlet here. And the one thing I did was I took a little detour. As you know, I left Olympia using the 5 freeway, and I headed south. But I didn't want to stay on the 5 the whole way down through Oregon and down south, because I made that mistake. Last time I headed up here to Washington was that I took the 5 freeway all the way up through Oregon, and it was not a comfortable drive. It was pretty daunting. There was a lot of traffic, and pretty aggressive traffic too, so I knew I didn't want to take the 5 south. So I cut over here to the coast, almost the coast, and I figure I will take a slow meandering way down the coast instead of taking the 5 down. I think I am done taking the 5 as much as I possibly can. Of course, I did a little bit today, but I really don't like the big freeways. So here I am in Astoria. As you can tell, some time has passed. So sun is setting, and I really kind of feel like driving still, since I started late in the day, but it's getting dark. So I guess this is where I'm going to be stopping for the night. We'll pick up the trip south tomorrow morning, hopefully. Probably would be better to get a quicker start than a later start like I did today. Now, I should mention that one of the other nice factors of me taking the 5 a little bit south before I cut over to the coast here is I avoided going over that bridge. Now, that doesn't look like much, I know, from here, but that bridge gives me nightmares. That is the Astoria Bridge. So there would be Oregon on the left-hand side of the screen and Washington on the right. It's funny, the Astoria Bridge doesn't look like much from here, but when you get up to it, it's very, very steep. And the first time I ever drove across it was really late at night, so it was pitch black. And it was also really stormy that night. Visibility was really low because it was just raining so hard. So I couldn't see the bridge until I got right up to it. Of course, I knew I was going across the bridge, but I didn't realize it was such a tall bridge or such a long bridge. And with the visibility being as bad as it was that night, I started on the road up the bridge and climbing. And I kept, you know, at first I thought, you know, just regular bridge, but it just never seemed to stop climbing. And then finally, you know, you get up to the top and leveled out, and then it just seemed to be going forever. It wasn't until I headed back to Washington on that particular trip, left Astoria here, headed back to Washington, that I could see the bridge. And then that time going up it, you could really see the climb up ahead. And yeah, I've been over it a couple of times since. And again, not my favorite bridge to go over. Normally, I like bridges, but that Astoria bridge really gives me nightmares. And you can make fun of me if you want. I just don't like that bridge. So I took a little roundabout way of getting here. I did go over a bridge to get here, but not nearly as scary of a bridge as the Astoria bridge. There you go. Make fun of me. Get it out of your system. Ha ha. I just don't like that bridge. Well, I've parked here in Astoria a few times before, and I've never had any trouble. It's been a really nice place to park in the past. So what I think I'll do is head downtown and try to find one of those spots that I've parked in the past and call it a night here. I'm actually kind of tired. I've only been driving a couple of hours, but I'm a little tired. But it has been a dark day out today, and it's been a little cold, and the cold always just zaps my energy. So probably why I'm tired. So I'll call it quits here today and get some decent dinner in me, since all I've had is that one little egg burrito. So I definitely need some food as well as sleep, and hopefully I can get up and get an earlier start tomorrow and continue the drive south. So thanks for watching, everybody. I really appreciate it. You probably can't see that, but there's a deer right here where I decided to park. I think this is a good neighborhood. It's a good sign.